Right-wingers are completely losing their minds over this train derailment that took place in Ohio. Now, one of the reasons I've not said much about it yet is that it is still really not clear what or who is to blame. And the right is very quick to blame woke and racism for the event that took place, which is a really strange thing to do and to blame. It's conceivable that what we have here is a problem in terms of lack of regulation. It's really not clear yet. The NTSB report so far says that the cause here was a malfunction with a wheel bearing, which overheated. And it's not yet clear what caused the wheel bearing to overheat. Now, of course, there are concerns about chemicals in the area, both in the air and the impact on water quality. Mike DeWine said he would stick with the bottled water for the time being. Aaron Brockovich is expressing concern about whether there are more harmful chemicals than what is being revealed. We are still trying to learn a lot about it, but many on the right have figured out what this is all about. Here's Greg Gutfeld. He believes wokeism is to blame.
Mayor Pete is busy. He's got some pretty big issues that he's dealing with. For example, did you see what he said about construction workers?
Yep.
That it's really a problem that their skin color doesn't match the diversity of a community. And that's really got to upset people. I remember as a kid walking around, and I was very upset whenever I saw a minority construction worker. I was like, oh my God, no.
Now, understand that these are two completely separate issues. And if indeed Mayor Pete weighed in about diversity of construction workers, it has nothing to do whatsoever with this incident. But Fox News doesn't care about that.
They all have to look like me. You know, that was a primary concern. All the other things about safety and whether the product was, that was not as important. This is the problem with catering to the woke. They don't have time for real problems. So they chase these completely made up ones. A train derails or a plane crashes, but they worry about the white construction worker offending somebody who doesn't exist. I don't believe a single person has ever expressed a problem about a construction worker's skin color, unless it was another construction worker. But this is if you want to talk about a toxic spill, look at wokeism and what politics is doing to every part of life. I mean,
okay, so Greg Gutfeld says wokeism and Pete Buttigieg being distracted by wokeism is the problem. Charlie Kirk goes even further in his, do I even call it an analysis? Charlie Kirk says the Ohio train derailment is part of the war on white people. And remember, the left is always victim. They're the victims. It is the right that is now regularly saying Christians are the victims and white people are the victims and conservatives are the victims. Here's Charlie Kirk's analysis of the situation.
Not a single member of the Biden regime would dare to go to this portion of Ohio and breathe in the air because they know it's dangerous. They know that it is actively poisoning the citizens of Eastern Ohio. So why is it that they kind of shrug their shoulders and they say, yeah, okay, whatever? It's very simple. It's because the war on white people continues.
Right.
Why would you care for the white working class voters in Eastern Ohio? You haven't cared about them in other reasons or other portions, and I will prove it to you. If this train derailment happened in downtown Atlanta, in the densely populated black neighborhoods, this would be the #1 news story. It would be Flint water crisis 2.0.
Well, that's interesting. We know how sincere Charlie Kirk is in saying he would be just as concerned, obviously, if the train derailment disproportionately affected black people because of the years that Charlie Kirk has spent talking about the Flint water crisis. Oh, wait. He hasn't spent years talking about the Flint water crisis. And so this is yet again, we are the victims. It is racist, or it's reverse racism, which is a delightful term that they like to talk about. But what they won't discuss is whether the train derailment might be the result of corporate greed and deregulation. Now, I'm not ready to say it is. Understand, I want to follow the facts. And based on the NTSB report so far, it isn't clear to me that the issue here is one of corporate greed and deregulation. But if we're speculating about what this is, and we're going to speculate, well, it's because of woke, or it's because of anti-white racism, or whatever the case may be. If we're speculating, let's include more reasonable speculation as well. Then we go to Marjorie Taylor Greene. Marjorie Taylor Greene says the issue here is Pete Buttigieg. That's really the problem. That's the cause.
But the real problem, Sean, is Pete Buttigieg. He's the Secretary of Transportation, and he's more interested in equity and inclusion in his hiring practices and grant-giving schemes and obviously probably chest feeding or something like that than he is rail safety.
Now, chest feeding. This is something that Lauren Boebert started with Pete Buttigieg. It's just straight up homophobic. Pete Buttigieg took paternity leave. That's the story. And they talk about maybe he was home chest feeding. And of course, this is what they are saying because Pete Buttigieg is gay. This is a homophobic attack on Pete Buttigieg. If this were, I don't know. I don't know. I was going to say George Santos, but Santos is gay. The point here is they're talking about Pete Buttigieg chest feeding because of the stereotypes about gay men being feminine. So the homophobia continues. But more importantly here, Marjorie Taylor Greene is saying, oh, there's a Democrat who is Secretary of Transportation. Let's blame him for what took place in Ohio rather than all of the Ohio infrastructure and political establishment, which is overwhelmingly run by Republicans. No. It's the fault of Pete Buttigieg in Washington, D.C.
And that's where we have real danger in our country.
Yeah.
You see, Pete Buttigieg was never qualified for the job. And
sort of like she's not qualified for her job.
I believe we need to haul him in our committees and start questioning him over what's actually happening in his department. Because train derailment is happening every single day. And now thousands of people, birds, animals, they're all sick. And we don't know the consequences of this horrible accident in East Palestine.
Yeah. She throws in train derailments are happening every single day. That's one of those statements that's true and is completely misleading. When you look at what that means, there's about 1,000 incidents a year that are called train derailment incidents. So it is like 3 a day. Understand that the overwhelming majority of these are minor incidents with absolutely no injuries, never mind deaths, often involving city rail transit like subways and commuter rails and this sort of thing. Often they're weather related. They're derailments of, a part of one car. And it's really not representative of any kind of particularly major problem. And of course, it happens whether the Secretary of Transportation is a Democrat or a Republican. Under Elaine Chao as Secretary of Transportation, you also had about 1,000 derailments of different kinds a year. So it's all dishonest. It's all nonsense, but they don't care. They just want to find someone to blame. One more clip here real quick. This is Jesse Waters saying this is the racist black EPA administrator trying to hurt white people.
So where's the EPA? If they say my plastic straw is destroying this country, then they must be all over a cancer-causing gas bomb in the Ohio River Valley, right? Or the random toxic ash that's raining down in Illinois.
By the way, it's funny how now suddenly conservatives care about pollution and the environment.
Actually, the EPA administrator, Michael Reagan, no relation to Ron, is too zoned in on electric school buses to care about poison drinking water. He just announced a pledge to support electric school buses nationwide. You have cancer? Here's an electric bus. Does this guy, Reagan, even know anything about the environment? Well, we looked into him, and the only reason he was nominated to run the EPA was because he promised to fight off environmental racism. Is this his idea of fighting environmental racism, spilling toxic chemicals on poor white people in Ohio?
Why do you make everything about race, they say to the left? Why do you see race in every issue? Well, it seems like these right-wingers are very much seeing race in this issue. Unhinged brain worms is what they're suffering from, but people hear it and they fall for it. One of our sponsors today is Mosh. Whether you're at the gym, on the go, between meals, Mosh protein bars are the smart snack to keep your body and brain fueled. There's 6 delicious flavors like blueberry almond crunch, peanut butter chocolate crunch, cookie dough crunch. Each Mosh bar comes packed with 12 grams of protein, 6 grams of fiber, but also important nutrients like vitamin B, vitamin D, omega-3s, and only 1 gram of sugar and 160 calories. I've tried tons of different protein bars. Really, you can't beat the taste and the texture of Mosh. I love these. My favorite is the chocolate crunch. Simple, satisfying. Now that I'm back in the gym, I'll snack on one of these after a workout. Mosh is also a mission-driven company with a portion of all proceeds donated to support women's brain health research through the Women's Alzheimer's Movement at Cleveland Clinic. Mosh is giving my audience 20% off plus free shipping on your first 6-count trial pack. Go to moshlife.com/Pacman. The link is down below.